Hey, it's Tamu, and welcome to Thinking Out Loud, and today's video will be focused around the latest Shadow of the Erdtree expansion for a little indie game you might have heard of called Elden Ring. But on a serious note, reoccurring debates have surfaced again, like they do with every FromSoft experience, and that is the conversation around video game difficulty. It's crazy because at the time of release, and the 2 years that followed up until this expansion dropped, many people were saying Elden Ring is the easiest Soulsborne game, and we would see so many builds that would just nuke enemy health bars. So it looks like FromSoft have answered their calls and delivered. The recent debate is over the main bosses being too hard to defeat, and look, I'm still making my way through this DLC at the time of writing, and yeah, Rolana has handed me my ass more times than I would like to admit, but here in Shadow of the Erdtree there is an item that I feel people are overlooking, as it is the core point of progression, and that of course is the Skaldtree Blessings, and they both increase the damage that you deal as well as the damage you take in the Shadowlands. It is important to set out and explore and progress, and I believe From Software took this approach to incentivize exploration and also as a way to mitigate both new players and experienced players from having a very different and polarizing experience and trying to balance the game, but provide a worthy challenge also to those people who have built those disgusting builds over the years, because man, there is some crazy builds here in Elden Ring and some people have just gone in crazy. But it's crazy because this expansion, despite meeting critical acclaim from critics, is currently sitting at a mixed rating on Steam, as many players are deeming this game too difficult and are venting their frustrations with the game being difficult for difficulty's sake. It's also worth mentioning that at the time of writing this, Bandai Namco have also addressed the feedback, saying that players should sit out and explore and try to get more of these blessings, as it will help their sense of progression. Recently, Miyazaki stated in an interview, quote, "We designed certain experiences with the intent of, oh man, I'm sure they're going to have a tough time with this. But somehow, these players are able to overcome all these obstacles with their skill with regards to difficulty. I know we get a lot of credit saying, yeah, our games are difficult, but it's not a matter of simply cranking up the difficulty, it's about doing it fairly." End quote. I think this is a really good point to touch on, because I think that is half of the charm to the FromSoft games. They are difficult, but they're difficult in a way that feels fair earned. It's about pattern memorization. It's about knowing your build and having the right gear or ability and going in with this idea of how to best the enemies and learning their movesets. And yeah, they'll knock you on your ass a few times, but when you actually beat them, you feel like it's rewarding. Miyazaki also went on to explain, quote, "If we really wanted the whole world to play the game, we could just crank the difficulty down more and more. But that wasn't the right approach. Had we taken that approach, I don't think the game would have done what it did, because the sense of achievement that players gain from overcoming these hurdles in such a fundamental part of the experience. Turning down difficulty would strip away the game of that joy, which, in my eyes, would break the game itself." End quote. Now, my thoughts in this whole situation are this: that there is really something special about Soulsborne games, and what I think makes that experience so meaningful is that sense of challenge that it offers you, and the idea that there is one difficulty shared amongst everybody that we are playing on. Sure, you can arbitrarily make the game harder by never leveling up or not wearing armor or doing all kinds of things, but we're all playing on one level and we can all progress the similar kinds of ways. It's about finding your own journey, but we're all playing on one difficulty. Not to mention that these worlds in of themselves take place in a brutal, bleak world that you tread through, and I feel like there's these punishing bosses and demigods, and their power is conveyed through just how easy it is for them to wipe the floor with you, and when you do beat them, you only scrape by the skin of your teeth, and it is fitting for what makes these worlds, their lore, and the overall sense of accomplishment that you get from finishing them feels that more meaningful, and it is a meaningful experience to complete a Souls boss. It's bullshit until the point where you actually beat them, and then you're like, that was a great boss fight. It is my belief that including an easy mode or doing something of that nature really does take away from that feeling, and I'd agree with Miyazaki in the sentiment of it breaking the game, not to mention that there is many different tools and methods that can make particular encounters less of a struggle, such as using summons or calling in spirits to help you out. I would say that this expansion was designed with players using spirits in mind. I mean, there's a whole blessing for them to be more effective, and I mean, you can collect both these blessings for your player to do more damage and take less damage, and then you can collect another blessing for your spirits. I'd say if you're struggling with this expansion, just take a breather and try exploring. Don't be ashamed to use spirits or summons or anything to your advantage too, they're put in the game for a reason. But this is par for the course with FromSoft games in general. Whether it is the helicopter in Armored Core 6 or modding Sekiro to make it easier, there will always be this difficulty debate surrounding their games. But I would say as long as they keep the difficulty intact, there is a level of charm that will always be found in these games, and that is the beauty that at its core with a lot of these games. I think that there's rich lore and stories, but it is backed up by just how heavy hitting some of these combat and encounters can be, and you really do feel like you've mastered the world in a lot of ways when you do get your way through it. And beating these games does feel like you've accomplished something because of that sense of challenge. And I think that in a way is what makes a lot of people attracted to these games. So at the top of this video, it has been announced that there is a patch coming to Elden Ring that buffs blessings, making the experience a lot more easier for those who go out and collect them. So I'd like to just double down on what I just said, go out and explore, collect more blessings, you'll probably have an easier time. And whilst I personally feel somewhat disappointed, I feel like the director of Helldivers who came out recently, making a statement on this whole Elden Ring matter, really summed up my feelings perfectly. A game made for everyone is a game made for no one. But anyways, what are your thoughts on this? I hope that many of you have gotten in and been able to finish the game and play through it, or just are taking your time and really enjoying it. And yeah, I'm working on a review for this currently, and it should be out as soon as I get good and finish it. But thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to, leave a like, subscribe, and I hope you enjoyed. Leave a comment as well on your thoughts on this whole situation. I'm interested to hear how people feel in the community. But yeah, thanks for watching and have a good one.